Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and it looks good?
Yes.
How about that? That's great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amber, for setting us up here today. And I have this fabulous group of experts with me. I'm so excited to share that with all of you. But today we're going to give you a brief overview as to everything you need to know. Well, maybe not everything you need to know, but a lot of things that you need to know to get started participating in Speak Up 2016. So a couple questions that you might have. They're the same questions that we built the presentation around. So if you're brand new to the work of Project Tomorrow, you might be asking, what is Speak Up? Or why should my school or district participate? Or what sort of benefit are we going to get out of that? Well, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to all three of those. But then, as I mentioned, we do have these experts here with us representing different school districts that have participated in Speak Up, and they're going to give us their frontline expertise, and I'm thrilled to have that. Then once you have all that information, we'll talk a little bit about how you get started. What do you need to do? What are some next steps? And then if you have some additional questions, how we can help you. So let's go ahead and introduce to you our fabulous panel of special guests. I call them experts. Mary Beth Loveglass is from Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia. Always a pleasure to have the opportunity to hear from Mary Beth. I always learn something new. The same with Vicki Sullivan, who is here from our good friends in Madison County School District in Alabama. Vicki, I was actually just earlier this week talking about Madison County. I always love that opportunity to talk about all the good work that you're doing there. And then my long-standing pal and schemer around the future of digital learning, and particularly the role of librarians in digital learning implementations, Glenn Warren from Encinitas Unified School District, right down the road from us here in California. So welcome to our fabulous expert guests today. So just giving you a little bit of background on Project Tomorrow in case you are not familiar with us. We are an education nonprofit organization. We're laser focused on this idea of how should students be well prepared to take on the world tomorrow. What types of learning experiences do they need to have in their formative years, both in school and out of school, to make sure that they're ready for the challenges of the world? So we do that through research and evaluation studies. We're also very keenly aware of the impact of STEM education programming, and we facilitate a lot of those ourselves, as well as providing advocacy around digital learning. We're probably best well known for the Speak Up research project on digital learning, the topic of our conversation here today. So in case you're not familiar with Speak Up, let me give you kind of the 1, 2, 3 as to what it is. It is an annual research project where Project Tomorrow creates a set of online surveys that every K-12 school or district can use in the country, not limited to anyone, to be able to collect authentic feedback from your stakeholders. In particular, we create online surveys for K-12 students, reading level, grade level, developmentally appropriate, of course, teachers, parents, school site administrators, district administrators, technology leaders, communications officers, librarians and media specialists, and also community members. Now, again, we create these online surveys. We facilitate the entire back-end processing of all of this, give you an online link that you can share with your stakeholders so that they can fill out the surveys. They take about 15, 20 minutes to complete. And then what we do is we compile all of that data. We give back to you, the participating school or district, your own locally collected data with state level and national level data as benchmarks. And then we take the national results and we share that every year with Congress, the U.S. Department of Education, other federal agencies, state departments of education, and think tank and research organizations, as well as our good partners in the education space. So it is both a national research project impacting policy, programs, and funding, as well as a service offering that Project Tomorrow provides, once again, to every K-12 school or district that would like to use our surveys. Since we started this in 2003, we've had about 4.5 million surveys. We have some fabulous outreach partners that help us with distribution of information about Speak Up. Many of these organizations may be familiar to you. We're always very grateful for their participation. This is kind of our champion level group. We actually have about 75 different partners that help us all across the country. types of questions on the Speak Up survey are about learning and teaching with technology. We ask different questions of different audiences. So for example, we ask teachers about their professional development needs. We ask parents about internet safety concerns they might have. We ask administrators what type of challenges they face today. But we ask all the respondents, and that includes the students as well as the adults, about how they're using different types of emerging technologies, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Now this list changes, as you would expect, year over year. But we continue to ask questions this year about mobile devices, the use of educational games, social media tools, new classroom models such as blended and flipped classrooms, as well as the overall topic around the use of different types of digital content, tools, and resources. Now, one of the things that I like about Speak Up is that it gives our participating schools and districts a really nice way to provide quantitative data from your stakeholders to dispute or to refute different assumptions or methodologies or a hunch that someone has. You know, I'm sure we all hear this from time to time in our meetings. Oh, someone will say, oh, I talked to a student and this is what they were doing with technology. And then people start extrapolating and saying, well, that must be true of all students. Or the same thing with parents. So folks will say, well, you know, I saw a national report that said parents say this. Well, that might be true for whoever was polled, but I love the fact that this is data from your stakeholders. And it's not just about what they're doing with technology, but also about their attitudes and aspirations for using technology. So we really give you an opportunity to have a 360-degree perspective. So let me give you just a couple glimpses into some of the data that we collect. And some of the statistics I'm giving you are from last year. We had about 505,000 surveys that were submitted to us last year. So every year we ask students about their personal access to mobile devices, not school provided. That's actually a separate question on the student survey. But what types of devices do they have personal access to? Mom or dad provided, grandma gave as a birthday gift, whatever it might be. This is really interesting for districts that are thinking about a BYOD, bring your own technology approach. It's also interesting to take a look at how different audience members think about the value of technology and to do a comparative on that, in this case, administrators, teachers, and parents. And this idea of parents is super interesting because there is really some new digital parents that are in our schools today, primarily in elementary grades or having children in elementary grades. And so we look at a comparative as to not only what parents' interests are around digital learning, but how that varies across the different audiences as well. And then finally, and once again, these are just snippets of data, we always ask teachers about how they're using different types of technology. In particular, digital content is one that we've been paying a lot of attention to. And so it's interesting to see how that changes over time. And then also what teachers say they need to use digital content more effectively. This has been a highly impactful particular question, one of many, on the Speak Up survey as districts are thinking about how do they move forward? What do their teachers say that they need? As I said before, I think one of the things that is most interesting or most valuable to schools and districts that participate in Speak Up is that not only does it give you a sense of what is the, as we're calling it here, the pulse of digital learning, but also gives you good data that you can use with your school board, with your community, with your parents, with your administrators, with your teachers, to take a look at what is currently happening and to really imagine what learning should be or could be. So nitty-gritty here, Speak Up opens up next week, and the surveys will be open until right before the winter break for most schools, so around December 20th. Once again, available to any K-12 school or district that wants to sign up to participate. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. We'll have surveys for K-12 students, parents, teachers, librarians, all the administrator groups, as well as community members. We do share the data every year at the national and state level to impact policies, programs, and funding. So one reason why you may want to participate in Speak Up is to make sure that the voices of your stakeholders are part of that national set. I was actually having a really interesting conversation earlier this week with a school district about that. That was very focused in on making sure that their voices were part of these big decisions that are being made. But first and foremost, Speak Up is an opportunity to help schools and districts. That's part of our nonprofit mission. So you participate in Speak Up in the fall, and then the beginning of February, you will get access to a free online report from us that has every single question on every single survey, telling you exactly what the respondents were from your school or your district and how they compared, as I said, to state and national. Many people use that comparative aspect to be able to either seed some new initiatives or to engage stakeholders in deeper conversations. So a little bit more on the whys and hows associated with this. So this is data based on what we have heard from school districts all across the country as to why they participate in Speak Up. We're going to hear from our expert panel in a moment. So I mentioned this having a voice in the larger discussions. It's also very interesting because getting authentic feedback from your stakeholders is sometimes a little bit more difficult than most people think. And one of the things that I love is that quite often districts will tell us that they believe that their stakeholders are more candid with us because we are not the district, we are not the state, we are not a vendor, we're not the federal government asking these questions, and we're not even a membership association asking these questions that might have a particular agenda or even a political bias. We are in many ways that unbiased guardian of this data. Now, the other thing I want you to know is that all of your data is 100% confidential. We do not share your data with anyone. So that there is no reason to be concerned about either someone determining the identity of any of the participants, or for your data being used in negative ways against the district. It is all your data, and we protect that. I love the fact that we do all the work for you, or you should love that fact too, and there is absolutely no cost to you. Now, we all know that we can all create a survey online. SurveyMonkey is a tool lots of people use. There's also companies that are out there selling their services to be able to collect feedback for you. At Project Tomorrow, we feel very strongly that your precious dollars should be used to impact student learning directly, and that's why we provide this as a free service to every school or district. So how do people use the data? All sorts of different ways. Justify budgets, purchasing decisions, to inform new initiatives. So many times I will hear from district leaders that whether it was a BYOD approach or maybe some blended learning implementations or the idea of bringing games into the classroom was driven by looking at the respondent data on Speak Up, what students were doing outside of school, what the aspirations were of parents, where teachers were ready to take some of these things on. Now, many districts also use the Speak Up data within their grants. The last couple of years, lots of federal grants have included Speak Up data to justify. Folks also use it to set up a conversation with their community, possibly to pass a bond measure or a parcel tax or some sort of additional funding for their school district. I think that's really an interesting one. And then here in the summertime, I can't tell you how many districts we heard from that use their Speak Up data as part of their back to school professional development or getting started in the school year conversations with their teachers and their principals. And we absolutely love that. So what I'd like to do now is turn the program over to some of our guests here who are going to share some of their reflections on their Speak Up experience. And as Amber said, maybe even share with you some tips, some tricks, some strategies, some different techniques that they have used to make the implementation effective for them. So Amber, I don't know who's up first.
Unmute myself there. I think we're going to start with Mary Beth.
Wonderful.
All right, great. Nice to see you all, and it's great to be here with you. We certainly have very much enjoyed being part of the Speak Up survey for many years, and so I'm going to share just for a minute a couple of slides and just a little bit of background on our experience, and go from there. So let me share my other screen with you guys and see how we go. All right. So as I mentioned, we're from Fairfax County Public Schools, and in a little bit of highlight of Fairfax, if you're not familiar, we're right outside, we're a suburb of Washington, D.C. We're the 10th largest district in the U.S., and we have close to 200 schools. We have 186,000 students, And we have a lot of diversity. We have some schools with very low poverty and some schools with very high poverty. On average, we have 28% free and reduced meals. 52,000 of our kids are in poverty. A lot of ESOL, English speakers of other languages. We don't use second language because we have many school students that speak 2, 3, 4 languages, and a large population of special education service. On a positive note, all of this is a positive. We value our diversity. We also are very high achieving. We're always ranked very high in terms of over 92% on-time graduation rates, lots of high achievement, etc. One of the things that we value, and we have very much a digital district, if you will. We have been doing BYOD for many years. I think 6 or 7 years now, and we also have a number of schools that are one-to-one district provided. So when we have participated, I thought I'd share a little bit about what we've done to get our community and students and parents, et cetera, to participate in the outreach and the Speak Up survey, because we value this data so much. When the survey window opens up, we broadcast the information out to all of our parents, and that's sort of your standard broadcast emails. We send them out to our parents, our students, certainly all of our staff, and all of our emails that we send out, we send in our 8 most popular languages. So those are automatically sent in terms of the instructions and the encouragement to participate in multiple languages. For those that are Spanish speaking, we certainly send the links. We recognize and we let them know that they're Spanish. The survey is also available in Spanish as well as English. For our kids in particular, we post the links on Blackboard, which is actually one of the partners with Speak Up. But in terms of our learning management system, so it's kind of right up there in front when they come in to look at their courses and their assignments and whatnot. So it's sort of in their face all the time during the window. Then we use a lot of social media to send and share the information out, because again, we'd like to get large participation. The more folks that participate, the better our data will be. And so we certainly, for our kids and whatnot, we send this out in terms of on Twitter, we post it on our Facebook pages, and a variety of different ways through social media to get the information out. One of the things that I thought I might share with you is that in terms of our students, we have made a connection with the Speak Up survey in terms of student research. We have what we call Tech Titans. These are some of our avatars and whatnot that we talk about when we're encouraging and teaching our students about digital learning. And one of our avatars is about student research. And we encourage our students to do their own research, but then we also mentioned that for them participating in the Speak Up survey, they are participating as a researcher. So I'm going to share with you a very brief video that shows you a little bit about a contest we have.
From Gumshoe, the Tech Titan.
Gumshoe is our avatar for student researchers.
Reminds us of technology's role in helping us perform research. Research involves collecting information to help you investigate and learn about a topic, collecting information that will help you solve a problem or assess a need. Sometimes you will be the person searching for and collecting that information, and other times you'll be the person providing information that will help someone else. Gumshoe has an opportunity for you to participate in some research all about technology. This opportunity is all about you sharing your thoughts and opinions about technology and how you currently use technology for learning. The Speak Up National Research Project annually polls students in grades K through 12, as well as their parents, teachers, and school administrators about the role of technology for learning both in and out of school. We want to hear from you and your teachers' thoughts and opinions because they matter. We're listening. The first 10 students to bring in proof that you completed the Speak Up survey will receive a Gumshoe button for your backpack. Will you be one of the 10? Sorry, teachers, this deal is just for kids, but we still want to hear from teachers too. Are you ready to learn how you can participate? Grab your own computing device or pencil and paper to write this down.
So that's just an example, and that we have a contest to encourage our students to participate in the Speak Up survey. Now, in terms of how we utilize this data, it is a big part of our strategic plan. We are working on ensuring that our students graduate with the 21st century skills. So we have developed something called a Portrait of a Graduate that talks about being global citizens, digital learners, communicators, collaborators, and being part of global citizenship. So part of the Speak Up survey and Speak Up data that we utilize helps us figure out where we need to continue to revise our curriculum, update our professional development plans for teachers, and also plan for infrastructure and support. It's a big part of how we plan year to year and how we invest our very precious dollars. I'm going to stop sharing here for now for a second. And okay. And head back to our presentation. So that's a little bit about how we get the word out and how we share, how we use the data, and I'll send it on to our next presenter.
Mary Beth. And we're going to go on. Vicki, it looks like we don't have you by video, but I believe we do have you. So let me do here, although I don't hear you. Your screen, but I still don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Vicki, go right ahead.
Okay, great. Thank y'all for this opportunity. It is fall break here in Alabama, most of the schools, so I'm presenting from home, so I apologize. I don't have all my resources that I need here. Oh, goodness. So, and I'm not able to go to present mode either. Do y'all see that? So I apologize. You're going to just got to see screen by screen here. Nope, nothing's moving. Any advice?
Yeah. Go to your other tab.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Go to the tab where you have the slides. And hit present from there.
That's where I think I am, but obviously not. So hang on.
I think you're in the chat room as opposed to into the where your slides are.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, they were both named the same things. That confused me a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Madison County. I'm the technology specialist for the entire school district, and we're located here in Huntsville, Alabama, which is home of one of the NASA areas. We also have the Space and Rocket Center here, and we're home to the Space Camp. But Madison County, we're kind of the bedroom community around the city of Huntsville. We have approximately 20,000 students, about 1,200 teachers. We do have 28 brick and mortar schools, and this year we have our first virtual school. So not every day that you can say that, you kind of wander through your neighborhood and this is what you see going down one of the main streets. So we spaces everywhere in our community it expects us to kind of be on the cutting edge with technology. So we strive to do that. We are we're not a very rich school system. That's probably not a very good word to say there, but our funding is not as much as it would be if we were in a municipality. So we have to strive to do the very best with the money that we are given through the State Department and grants and et cetera. So I want to kind of talk to you about three things, how we got started with, excuse me, with Speak Up, how we get participation amongst our shareholders, and then what we do with the data. We are a BYOD school district, and this is our second year doing that. We piloted it 1 year. Our elementary schools are coming on board this year. So we're real excited about the direction that we're going with technology in our district. I'm not exactly certain the year that we started. We're thinking about 2008, 2009, but we've been with Speak Up for a lot of years. And one of the reasons we started, we were looking for some data that it could actually help us with our federal grants that we were receiving back in those earlier years. And also we had a brand new state technology plan that was coming out, and it was looking for data to support the things that we wanted to do within our school district. So when we found Speak Up, we knew that that was one of our answers. How do we get participation from our local areas, our local schools? We have 2 technology surveys that we administer each year. One is Speak Up in the fall, and the other one is our state technology survey that we do in the spring. So we use the data from both of those surveys, along with lots of other data, to create our technology plans that are due this time of the year. So our goal is kind of lofty, but we're almost reaching it. But we want 100% participation from our administrators. We have 28 sites, and all those schools have 1 principal and a minimum of 1 assistant principal or instructional leader there. So we're looking for their leadership in helping us with the survey, so that we kind of know the direction that we want to go district-wide with all of our technology purchases and professional development and activities for our students. And then we're looking for about 80% participation from our teachers. We have about 1,200 teachers. And then we think a 20 to 30% goal, although some years we get more than that, from our students. And we have not set any kind of goals for our parents or our community, but we're going to be working on that. So how do we promote the surveys? We start off, and we've already started mentioning it back in the month of August, to our principals at their meetings, assistant principals at their meetings. I oversee some part-time technology coaches and the librarians in our district. So I utilize that relationship with them, and they're real advocates of the surveys. And so they put the word out a lot. And then our director of teaching and learning and our superintendent are big advocates of the survey. And so they really help us by pushing it with lots of promotional items from the floor of meetings, and also through email and tweets, etc. One of the items that we use, and I'm sure Julie will talk about this later on, we use a lot of the resources that come straight from Speak Up. There's, like, I think it's called a welcome packet, and we use the flyers. There are templates there for emails and tweets, so you don't have to dream up anything. You have everything right there. There's a lot of press releases. We have a brand new director of communications this year at our school district, and I plan to get with him on those releases. There's lesson plans for teachers to, how to, work the survey into their lessons. So there's so much more, but we really take advantage of those items from Speak Up. And then, of course, we do some things on our own too. At our local schools, once those principals and the librarians and teachers have the word to go, then they start getting the word out to the community, the students, the parents, through newsletters, through social media. We are a big advocate of branding ourselves, so we use a lot of social media. All of our buildings will put some kind of advertisement on their outside marquees that, it's time to take the survey. We have a listserv that goes out daily at a minimum to all our schools, and our principals are putting that in those daily or at least weekly emails to our parents. And then our tech coaches use a web tool called S'mores. It's kind of like a little online flyer, and almost like a competition there with them creating, some attractive flyers to send out to all their parents and teachers. Every school kind of chooses their own method of how they get the word out to their stakeholders. And several of our schools have been recipients of awards from Speak Up for high participation amongst their schools, and we're real proud of that. I receive a weekly summary from Speak Up, and I forward that on to principals. That's usually on a Friday, sometimes on a Saturday morning. Our schools are very competitive. We have like 5 communities. They're called families. There's a high school in each of those, and then feeder schools, elementary and middle school. And they like to be the number one. So sometimes I'll get at least one email after I've sent out that update from a principal saying, now what was that link again? Because they have seen that they're behind on the race trying to beat the other schools to have the most participation. Our students participate in the surveys mostly through the computer labs or in the classroom. Those lower elementaries, we suggested them that they take that group survey, so their classroom teacher, or sometimes they'll send them into the library and the librarian have a little technology lesson with them, and they just administer the survey right there. We utilize those 2 weeks right before the Christmas break, which is like usually the last 2 weeks of the survey, to really push our students to take the survey at the school. Most of our schools still have a computer lab or a mobile lab, or you know, as we are getting more down to the BYD, we're encouraging them to use their own devices to take those surveys. And then what do we do with our data? This was our last year's survey results, and we're digging through all that right now as we're finalizing our technology plan. But we try to compare year to year kind of how we're doing. This is the 2 previous years. And we're about on target. I think last year we were just a little bit higher amongst our students, but maybe a little bit lower on our parents and our administrators. And we always find that our high school numbers are low. We're looking for more ways to get the opinions and have those high school students have a little more of a voice. So we're looking for more ways for them to get involved with the survey. We scour the data, you know, looking through each of those categories, looking for celebrations, places where we've improved, also maybe some warning signs, places where we might need to pay a little more attention with our professional development or things we need to purchase. We do insert all these results, not all of the results, but the things that matter the most to us into our technology plan. And then we use the PowerPoint presentation template that SpeakUp provides to compile our data into a presentation. We try to do that with our district leaders, our board, and our school leaders. We take all that information and plug it into our technology plan and compare it to previous years. If you'll notice here, we've just taken question number 27 that was on the teacher. We thought that was kind of a strength, and if you'll notice, we've been kind of comparing it since 2012. Some years those question numbers change, and we have to kind of do some fancy fixing up of our data to try to find another question that's kind of adequate there with it. What's next for us? We have trying to become a little more of an advocacy tool here with the survey. So we want to present more to our community and our local legislators, maybe for some leverage for more funding for technology in our classrooms. And we're looking to try to get those part-time technology coaches into full-time positions to help our teachers and our students with technology in the classroom. And then we have a brand new learning management system. This is our 2nd year. We're going to be using it. I think I heard the previous speaker talk about plugging it into Blackboard, and we want to do the same thing with Canvas so that it's right there between now and December, and so that our students will actually be participating in the survey from there. And that's about it for me. But we're so thankful for the opportunity that we have to work with SpeakUp, and the data that we receive from it has made huge changes in the way that we're using technology and the way that we're promoting the results of that within our school district.
Great. Thank you so much, Vicki. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Glenn, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So let's see, I will move over to Glenn.
Hello there.
There we go.
Am I there? Am I here?
I think so. Give me 1 second. There we go.
Hello?
All right.
Am I live?
You are live, Glenn.
Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and share a screen here to help me with my points. Is that visible?
Yes, I see it.
What's it say?
Encinitas Union School District, 5,400 students.
Go ahead and continue with my presentation.
I'll let you do that.
All right, fair enough. Encinitas is in Southern California. We are in San Diego County. We are on the coast. It's a spectacular area. Interestingly enough, and it's in northern San Diego County. We have a variety of different schools. We have 9 elementary schools. We are an elementary district. This is one of the attractions that brought me to Encinitas, because I believe the real action is with our youngest kids. Is if we can get this real world piece going well with our kindergartners, I think that adage that everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten, I still think holds up even in the technology world. Anyway, we have kindergartners through 6th grade, and we have been a 1-to-1 iPad program district, and we're in our 5th year. That's pretty unique, especially the idea that we have every single kindergartner has their own iPad and it can go home, all the way up through 6th grade. This was launched during the time that you may have been aware of some of the woes of larger school districts that tried a 1-to-1 iPad rollout, or even the limited rollout. We weathered through all of that and have been very successful. And in fact, it's been an amazing financial positive in terms of repopulating our iPads. Many folks looked at the front end and how much 1-to-1 providing that for our students would be, and less expensive devices are wonderful. But having an iPad, that was like, wow, we get an iPad? What we didn't anticipate was that we had made this commitment financially and realized the resale value of a 3-year-old iPad is significantly higher than other devices. So our now net for repopulating every single iPad, we've already gone through 2 refreshes, and it has been fractionally less expensive than the initial rollout. So it's actually proven to be amazing for us. Another piece about that is we are very deeply committed to an equity of access piece in our district. We wanted to make sure that all of our kids, had access to a quality device. Also, a little piece of information about a week and a half ago, the P21 group, a partnership for 21st Century Schools, they had been identifying many schools over the years as exemplar schools. But this year was the first year that they identified an exemplar district. And I'm very proud to say that Encinitas was identified as being one of the 4 exemplar districts from P21. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the P21 framework, it really speaks to the career ready piece. It speaks to the 4 C's, the collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. But it also speaks to the information literacy, digital literacy piece, which is the more skill set piece. And our district has been absolutely lasered in the last couple of years on this issue of information literacy education, which is really the wheelhouse of school and teacher librarians. It's a librarian thing, the information literacy. And so we've been using that as a platform, a skill set to help build our students' capacity for learning anything. In fact, that kind of rolls us right into a program that we were moving forward with, something called Dreams. You may be familiar, or should be, I'm sure you all are familiar with the STEM effort, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the typical labels that are out there connected to that are STEM or STEAM, which adds the arts into that, or STREAM, which I think is pretty cool too, because it actually adds the research piece. But all of those kind of sounded kind of weird to us, STREAM, STEM, that kind of thing. We went with Dreams. That sounds so much better. And notice the T is out of there. There's no T in there. There's no T in Dreams. So we're not even calling forward the technology. The reason why, and where we are as a district, the technology is everywhere. Everybody has the technology. So it's we're kind of getting beyond the issue of the technology and now moving into what is the pedagogy and what is the, how we're going to, handle this incredible access to almost infinite amounts of information. So DREAM stands for design, research, engineering, and mathematics and science. And so the idea would be the D is actually kind of connected to design thinking, which is actually, sadly, in my slide reversed incorrectly. The D kind of speaks to the career technical ed standards, and the R, which is the research, speaks to our California model school library standards.
And Glenn, let me interrupt you one quick second. We're not seeing the slides. I don't know.
Can you, let's see here. If I go to, I thought we had somebody read them off to me that we did see them.
That was me. I did see them.
And then they went away. Can you see them now?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so you can see this.
Yes. Yes. Got it.
Okay. All right. So that's where we were here. And then what I wanted to share with you is that, when we do, design thinking has really made a big step forward. We have, the maker spaces have been showing up. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. But the problem we noticed is that the research piece was missing. And this is, I love the comments that were made earlier, that the fact that we're emphasizing research, using our librarians, that is absolutely essential. Because if you start moving forward with this design thinking piece or these makerspace pieces and you leave the research out, you get stuff like that. Or this. Or this. Didn't quite think through the research, right? So what ends up happening is that we've noticed that in all of the standards that we have, that research is such a critical piece of this. And it shows up in every one of our standards. In fact, our both the Common Core standards that some states have adopted and others have their own version of that, but research is embedded in everything. So what we tried to do was, we've been saying to our students, hey, look, what matters to you matters. We want our students and their personal interests to find its way into the academics of our school and the way our schools. And the way to do that is by really focusing on that information literacy piece as that bridge between the standards focused learning, which is the required learning, and the student focused learning, which is the desired learning. It could be different for every child and start to accommodate for that. Well, I got to tell you that singular push really moved our parent community for sure. And as a result, it really turned into this idea that we really wanted to personalize the learning for our students. And when I say personalization, we're not talking about modification of curriculum to meet the need. It includes that for sure. We're not even talking about individualization, which again, is really kind of focused on the academic only piece. The personalization is the idea that we really want to know what matters to the student. And the only way to get that done is we've got to listen to their voice. So that brings us to Project Tomorrow and what a tremendous support it is for us currently and moving forward. And that was, we get to hear the personalized, it speaks to the personalized learning piece because we're actually hearing the voice of the student. We're actually being able to, and that's what I'm so proud of with the Project Tomorrow. From the very beginning, unlike some Johnny-come-lately folks, whoever they may be, they started with the idea that we have got to make sure that we're hearing the uninterrupted, unleavened voice of the student. But with that comes, where's our parent community? Because when we try to move forward with initiatives and move forward with innovative programs, if we get out in front of where our parents are, it can really come back and hurt us. So that became a very important piece. So the personalization of learning, it supported that. It obviously supports the information literacy piece because that's how we go about doing research, that information literacy. So our teachers and our students began to value on a much higher plane, much higher level, the value of research and the value of voice. So this is why the Speak Up survey began to rise, because people began to believe, and this is, I think, critically important, that their voice was going to be heard. And on another front, I don't know if you guys are familiar with local control funding formula, and that should be formula, sorry about that. But the local control funding formula requires school districts and school sites to listen to the voice of their community. So we found that Speak Up data started finding its way in to the local control funding formula as well. This really powerful because we were able to actually turn to the data that's there. And another point that I think is really important to mention is that there's a lot of discussions about rethinking rigor. And the idea of rethinking rigor is this thought that, rigor isn't just hard, it's the idea of finding something that really is relevant to the student. We've been using the Speak Up data to speak to that. Where are our students? Where are their interests? And how might we use that to increase rigor? And then finally, there's an app for that. Since we are a iPad district, we are able now to push out a app, a web clip. It appears like it's an app, but it comes out into the iPads as a single click that takes the students to the survey. So this is helping to make the job a lot easier for our students, for our teachers, for our school sites, and being able to get back to the school site leader, the principal of each school, the data that's related to their school community has been invaluable. So that has helped bring our principals to that level of buy-in that we really, really needed. So that kind of concludes my presentation there. So I'll go to stop sharing, and I am back.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Glenn. I'm going to go back to Julie. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who provided us with some of their tips and their background. I think it's very helpful for all those who are joining us to get some of that perspective and feedback and lessons learned.
I agree 100%, Amber. What fabulous insights, and all from different perspectives. And that I really love that aspect of it. I was furiously taking notes. So no to my expert panelists who joined us here today. I'm going to be following up with you because you got some fabulous ideas there that we even want to get out to a broader audience. So we just have a couple moments. I don't know if Amber, if we have gotten any sort of questions from folks, but we'd be happy to address those.
Sure. And I actually forgot to let folks know, if you want to ask a question, please feel free to tweet us using the hashtag SpeakUpIntro, or you could email me at ataylor@tomorrow.org so we can see if anybody has any questions that's joining us online.
In the meantime, I had a couple other slides that just sort of took you through the next step. So how do you get started? So why don't we go ahead and do those while we're waiting? See if folks join us.
Good.
With some questions. So again, many thanks to my expert panelists. So now that we have shared with you the hows and whys, so what do you need to do to get started? Well, here's the good news, folks. Every school and district is already pre-registered for Speak Up. We use the back end of the NCES database from the U.S. Department of Education to pre-populate our database with the name of your school, the address, the name of your district, what schools are associated with what districts. All of that is already as part of the Speak Up database. Now, what you're going to want to do, though, is that you're going to want to come on to our site at tomorrow.org/speakup to add a contact person. So that is, in Vicky's case, that's Vicky. They're in the school district in Madison County, for example, so that we then can send you, as Vicky pointed out, those weekly updates, and also then give you the link to that free report with all of your data. So very advantageous to go ahead and give us just your contact information. Now, as Vicky mentioned, we do send out those weekly updates. How the survey works is that there is a URL. So the survey can be taken anywhere where a student, a teacher, a parent, an administrator has some type of online access. You're going to promote out that URL. Their different respondents are going to come on. They're going to put the name of their school and their state into our site, and then they're gonna pick the button. If they're a student, they're gonna click on the student button. If they're a teacher, they'll click on the teacher button. So very user-friendly, very easy, not complicated, very few clicks to be able to get directly into the survey. Now, the other thing that we have, and this might be interesting for some of you, is that with many states, we have set up state pages. And so we have very close partnerships with a wide range of different state departments of education. And sometimes they want to provide to their stakeholders some additional information or maybe even some incentives for participating. And so the states have these very specific pages. So if you're not sure whether your state has a page or not, you can always let us know and we'll point you to that place. If you have some additional questions, well, here is the secret weapon in all of this. I want to introduce you to your new best friend for Speak Up 2016, and that's the amazing Jenny Hosser. She is our Speak Up Operations Manager and has frontline responsibility for working directly with schools and districts to facilitate the Speak Up process. Now, Jenny has a team that works with her. Tessa and Lisa are part of that team, but Jenny is your frontline contact. Jenny loves the opportunity to hear from you, to be able to walk you through a process, point you to where some of those resources are, whether it's the lesson plans or the FAQs, share with you how different schools and districts are utilizing Speak Up. And so please feel free to contact Jenny at any time. We mentioned that there are a great number of resources that are available on our website, and I think it was Vicki that mentioned this. You don't need to sit down and start off and say, how am I going to promote this to our parents? What language am I going to use? In fact, we've done all that for you. So all kinds of sample templates, whether it's for social media or for a newsletter or to put on a website, all of that is there. In addition to that, on the back end, we did create a number of templates that you can then drop your data into. So it's the same templates, for example, that I'm using when I'm presenting the information to Congress and the U.S. Department of Education. So you get to use those same templates and be able to share that, as I mentioned before, with school board members, maybe with a civic organization, with your city, and with your parents as well. All of this, folks, you find at tomorrow.org. Just click on the button that says Speak Up, and it'll take you to this wealth of information. So that gives you kind of the 1, 2, 3 in terms of what is Speak Up, how and why should we participate, and thank you again to our fabulous panel of experts who shared their firsthand perspectives on all of this, and then what you need to get started right now. So with that, Amber, I mean, if we have some questions that came in, happy to take those at this time. If not, this will be made available to folks, and we're ready to help you through the Speak Up process.
Sure. And Julie, there was just one question that I've seen about asking a clarification about the youngest students. I think we touched on how that the survey is administered to the kindergartners, first graders, but if we can just go through that once more.
Sure, that's a good question. So thank you for whoever sent that in. We make this very accessible to students of all ages, reading levels, different developmental levels. So kindergarten through 5th grade, you have 2 options. You can use an individual survey where the students complete the survey on their own. It's a limited set of questions, as you would imagine. Or there is a group format where the teacher or whoever is the facilitator asks the questions of the group. The students raise their hand to indicate their agreement with any particular response option. And then the teacher or facilitator inputs that into the online site. So it's set up both ways, and we have schools and districts that use it both ways. The reading levels are set up to be about 3rd grade level for the students that are in grades 3, 4, and 5. And then for the kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders, it is really hard with technology terms to get it much younger or much lower from a Lexile standpoint than 2nd grade. So in most cases, for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, it's probably best to go with that group option. But we do make it flexible. In some cases, kindergartners are reading at 2nd grade level and they want to take that own individual survey because the older sibling is doing that. We make it available to you to do it whatever way works best for you.
Julie, since we're out of questions, I had comment that I wanted to say about the previous presentations. I was thrilled to see how the other districts that were in the presentations were utilizing their school libraries and their school library services. It makes sense to me because it seems to be the one place on campus that what matters to the student matters first. And for that to be that environment that they're utilizing that, I think that's just brilliant. It was just great to hear that, and very impressed.
One of the things I was going to mention is that our libraries have become really truly media centers, and so they obviously are there, and our librarians are a big part of teaching research skills and digital citizenship skills to our kids. That's also where they can check out, if they do not have access to internet at home, they can check out a portable MiFi, they can check out a device that they can have access to. So we want to make sure that they truly have digital access 24/7, and the library is really the hub of our schools in terms of being able to provide that access for our kids, both the learning instruction, but as well as the actual technology to be able to have access 24/7.
That is fantastic. I mean, you heard all the beautiful stuff in there, the equity, that would make sure you got your support. I mean, that's just very exciting to hear you say that. I just hope it spread. I hope that leadership spreads across the country.
Librarians are a big part of our team, for sure.
Okay, I'm going to hug that woman. I'm going to go hug her right now. The other thing is, by the way, the P21 recognition that we received, I can tell you right now, was because we did put that piece that you were describing into the writing, and it's because we heard from our students. And Speak Up was a big part of us knowing what that was. Otherwise, we would have been flying blind.
All good stuff. Thank you so much, folks. It's been great being here with all of you today, sharing your insights. And we're looking forward. Speak Up opens up next week, right around the corner. We'll be in touch soon. So,
Take
Amber, anything else? Or are we good?
That's all. That's all for today. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.